Hello, today's daily reading comes from the book of the Apocrypha. We are reading from the book of Jasher, chapter 67, and we are starting at verse 31, and it reads as follows. And Abimelech, the Gerarite king of the Philistines, God punished on account of Sarah, wife of Abraham, and stopping up every womb from man to beast. When their God came to Abimelech in the dream of night and terrified him in order that he might restore to Abraham Sarah, whom he had taken, and afterward all the people of Gerar were punished on account of Sarah. And Abraham prayed to his God for them, and he was entreated of him, and he healed them. And Abimelech feared all this evil that came upon him and his people, and he returned to Abraham his wife Sarah, and gave him with many gifts. He did as also to Isaac when he came, when he had driven from Gerar, and God had done wonderful things to him, that all the water courses of Gerar were dried up, and their productive trees did not bring out, until Abimelech of Gerar and Ahuzath, one of his friends, and Pekol, the captain of his hosts, went to him, and they bent and bowed down before him to the ground. And they requested of him to supplicate for them, and he prayed to the Lord for them, and the Lord was entreated of him, and he healed them. Jacob also, the plain man, was delivered through his integrity from the hand of his brother Esau, and the hand of Laban and Syrian, his mother's brother, and who had sought his life, likewise from the hand of all kings of Canaan who had come together against him, and all his children to destroy them. And the Lord delivered them out of their hands, and they turned upon them and smote them. For who had ever stretched out his hand against them with impunity? Surely Pharaoh, the former your father's father, raised Joseph the son of Jacob above all the princes of the land of Egypt, when he saw his wisdom. From through his wisdom he rescued all the inhabitants of the land from the famine. After which he ordered Jacob and his children to come down to Egypt, in order that through their virtue the land of Egypt and the land of Goshen might be delivered from the famine. Now therefore, if it seems good in your eyes, cease from destroying the children of Israel. But if it be not your will that they will dwell in Egypt, send them out from here, that they may go to the land of Canaan, and the land where their ancestors sojourned. And when Pharaoh heard the words of Jethro, he was very angry with him, so that he rose with shame from the king's presence, and went to Midian, his land, and took Joseph's stick with him. And the king said to Job the Uzite, what say you, Job? And what is your advice respecting the Hebrews? So Job said to the king, behold, all the inhabitants of the land are in your power. Let the king do as it seems good in his eyes. And the king said unto Balaam, what do you say, Balaam? Speak your word, that we may hear it. And Balaam said to the king, of all that the king has counseled against the Hebrews, will they be delivered, and the king will not be able to prevail over them with any counsel. For if you think of lessening them by the flaming fire, you cannot prevail over them. For surely their God delivered Abraham, their father, from Ur of the Chaldeans. And if you think to destroy them with the sword, surely Isaac, their father, was delivered from it, and a ram was placed in his stead. And if with hard and rigorous labor you think to lessen them, you will not prevail even in this. For their father Jacob served Laban in all manner of hard work and prospered. Now therefore, O king, hear my words. For this is the counsel which is counseled against them, by which you will prevail over them, and from which you should not depart. If it pleases the king, let him order all their children which will be born from this day forward to be thrown into the water, for by this can you wipe away their name. For none of them, nor of their fathers, were tried in this manner. And the king heard the words of Balaam, and the thing pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Balaam. And the king ordered a proclamation to be issued and a law to be made throughout the land of Egypt, saying, every male child born to the Hebrews from this day forward will be thrown unto all his servants, will be thrown into the water. And Pharaoh called unto all his servants, saying, go now and seek throughout the land of Goshen, where the children of Israel are, and see that every son born to the Hebrews will be cast into the river, but every daughter you will let live. And when the children of Israel heard this thing, which Pharaoh had commanded to cast their male children into the river, Some of the people separated from their wives, and others adhered to them. And from that day forward, when the time of delivery arrived for those women of Israel who had remained with their husbands, they went to the field to deliver, and they brought out of the field and left their children upon the field and returned home. And the Lord, who had sworn to their ancestors to multiply them, sent one of his ministering angels, which are in the heaven, to wash each child in water, to anoint and swathe it, and to put it into the hands of two smooth stones, from one of which it sucked milk, and from the other honey. And he caused its hair to grow to its knees, by which it might cover itself, to comfort it, and to cleave to it through his compassion for it. And when God had compassion over them, and had desired to multiply them upon the face of the land, he ordered his earth to receive them, to be preserved therein until the time of their growing up. After which the earth opened its mouth and vomited them out, and they sprouted out from the city like the herb of the earth and the grass of the forest, and they returned each day to his family and to his father's house, and they remained with them. And the babes of the children of Israel were upon the earth like the herb of the field, through God's grace to them. And when all the Egyptians saw this thing, they went out, each plowshare, and they plowed it up as one plows the earth at seed time. And when they plowed, they were unable to hurt the infants of the children of Israel. So the people increased and waxed exceedingly. And Pharaoh ordered his officers daily to go to Goshen to seek for the babes of the children of Israel. And when they had sought and found one, they took it from its mother's bosom by force and threw it into the river. But the female child they left with its mother. Thus did the Egyptians do the Israelites all the days. Amen.